Hey, kia ora koutou whānau, ke te piki a koe. Welcome back to another edition of Big Hairy News. Kia ora Chewy.
Hello, I wasn't expecting the Vote Compass page to fucking flashbang me right at the start.
It flashbanged you. It bang flashed you.
Just a very bright white screen. Yep, good stuff.
Hey team, good to be back with you tonight. Thanks for joining us. A big old show. Any moment now we're expecting Raf Manji to come in to join us. We want to have a chat about this conversation that I kind of only saw for the first time tonight on News Hub. I mean, these are conversations we've had before, as you know, who does a handshake deal, who helps another party get in, who does this, who does that. And there's been an idea floated tonight. I don't know where it's come from, or whether it's come from top, or whether it's come from national, or whether there's just a bit of scuttlebutt going around about this. Could be a situation where, if national were to do a deal with top in the area of Ilam and ensure Raf won, and I think Raf's going to tell us tonight they are going to win, which you'd expect, but ensure that there might be an opportunity, should there need to be a kingmaker, a balance of power, a third party to keep Winston out. So we'll have a chat with Raf about that super shortly. I think he's just jumped into the chat. I can see that. Although, Raf, if you can hear us, we can't see a camera. So if you want to enable your camera, then we could possibly see your beautiful face. Well, there you go. I can see it. I can see it coming up, Chewy. We're having a little backroom, green room chat here. And other than that, there's a bunch of other stuff going on tonight. We are going to have a look at Mr. Luxon having a conversation on the Hui yesterday, where he seemed to not know his numbers. And then I will put forward I will submit, Your Honour, that during the ad break, one of his aides ran to him to go, and then he corrected his numbers directly after the ad break. Maybe I'm being a bit petty, but I find it to be a little bit embarrassing. But we'll see. We'll show it to you guys. We vote, you decide. Yeah, it was. So we'll look at that. Also, the word irony. Now, if you look up the word irony in the dictionary, apparently it's just got a logo of New Zealand First beside it. That's the definition of the word irony in the dictionary these days. We'll look at that and give you the headline on that as well. And what else? There was one other thing as well we were going to talk about. I think, what's happening in Tamaki, the electorate of Tamaki. And that it seems that Brooke van Velden, according to polling, and you know us, we're always like, we'll wait till election day, but there's been a poll released today by Courier that says she's doing pretty well in Tamaki. And will we see ACT get 2 seats in Auckland? That is the conversation. And speaking of ACT getting 2 seats in Auckland, ACT got their first seat in Auckland. I don't know quite what Seymour's doing about this, Chewy, but he's all like, they never gave it to us. We won it fair and square. And it's like, what? What?
That's certainly not how I remember it at all.
I mean, maybe he's saying it's still up to the voters, because they could still, even if it was given, even if someone was directed, they still have to physically do it. And I don't know, maybe there's semantics there. But and what I was suggesting is because of the conversation around ACT and getting 2 seats, they have been where top wants to be, and top wants to get into Parliament. And we're going to bring in right now the leader of top, Raf Manji. Raf, are you with us there, sir? Hello to you. We don't have your video, Raf, and we've got your audio now. G'day.
I'm having a bit of trouble with my camera for some reason.
We can hear you. If you can get your camera going, that'd be lovely to see your beautiful face as well. But we could just also have
give me 2 secs.
Okay.
On that, I think I will come in on my phone.
Okay. So do you want to pop out and come back again?
Yeah. I'll come back.
Okay, you can do that. There we go. So this is how we roll here. as we are talking about rolling, you can have a look at some of the comments in there, Chewy, just while we wait for Raf to come back.
There's an hour's worth of comments there.
Anyone's got a question for Raf? We haven't got Raf for long tonight. I know we've had him twice before for almost an hour, but we're just really going to talk to him about this one issue for tonight. And whilst Chewy was perusing some of those, let's just remind people you can subscribe to our daily audio podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. Just search for hashtag Big HN. You guys put us to number 1 of the Apple charts last week, and we very much appreciated that. And I saw there was a bunch of people rating and reviewing us in Apple today, so we appreciate that as well. We had a bit of a campaign against us to rate us down. So if you do happen to listen to us on Apple Podcasts, we appreciate that rate and review. It's fantastic, and thank you so much for doing that. And also, the more you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, the more we get a chance to be and remain at number 1, which helps us when we, for example, approach political figures, international figures, saying we're the number 1 podcast in the news commentary segment of Apple Podcasts. So if you feel like listening to us tomorrow, if you want to, pick up the old the Apple iPhone or the iPhone and listen to some Apple Podcasts tomorrow, chuck us in there for a bit. Listen back to one of our interviews; it'll be great. The other thing, of course, and I haven't done the billboard. We've had a couple of people sign up to patrons in the last 24 hours. I haven't done the billboard updated for tonight, and because I haven't done that, I won't show it. So we'll do that for tomorrow night. But thank you for those who became patrons in the last 24 hours. If you want to help us do what we do, if you enjoy what we do and you want to be a part of the team, we know a lot of the times there are lurkers out there, and lurkers like to kind of check us out and see what's going on. You're more than welcome, lurkers, but at some stage, if you want to be a patron, it's pretty easy to do. You head to patreon.com/Big Hairy News, and there's a bunch of levels in there that you can get involved with. And I think on election day, Chewy, we'll do another virtual meetup. So on 14th of October, Saturday week, we will do a virtual meetup at 11 in the morning. That's a Saturday at 11 in the morning, and every patron will be invited to that if you want to come and have a chat with us. Right. The leader of the Top Party, the leader of Top, is Raf Manji, and he joins us right now on his phone. G'day, Raf.
Yeah, good evening. So I was having a few Chrome issues, as you always do when you log onto these streaming systems.
No dramas at all. Just if you turn your phone sideways as well, then we'll get you in a beautiful landscape rather than portrait, and it'll look like we've done this before once or twice.
Is that,
or just not. Or you can just leave it there. That's fine.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
You just leave it like that. That's fine. Yeah. Hey, I think what we'll do, Raf, rather than even quizzing you about this, what I'd like to do is I'd like to watch the News Hub story with you, and because you feature in that, and then I've got some questions about it. I'm sure Chewy does too. And Chewy, if there's any questions in the chat about that, we'll monitor that as well. And 5-10 minutes after the News Hub story finishes, Raf, then we'll let you go and we'll get on. So thanks for joining us tonight. I really appreciate you making yourself available.
No problem.
So here is a story from tonight for people who haven't seen it, and it's all about Christchurch, really.
Kia ora, good evening. The plan was to have a leaders' debate, but instead Christchurch became the scene of another intriguing political possibility.
The event was scuppered when Chris Hipkins got COVID, though he's accusing Christopher Luxon of pulling out because Luxon refuses to find an alternative date. Yeah. But as Lloyd Burr reports, Luxon's also being urged to pull out of something else, the Ilam seat, to make way for the Opportunities Party and shut out Winston Peters.
Selfie after selfie in Christchurch.
Up the wires, brother.
The city Christopher Luxon grew up in.
Well, nice to meet you, mate.
But a city he won't debate in.
Hey, Rebecca, it's Chris Luxon here. How are you?
His phone calls with the press to reschedule tonight's debate probably weren't as cheery. It's still a no from him.
The Prime Minister has COVID, okay? It is what it is.
Chris Hipkins is isolating with COVID until Friday and wants to shift the staple election fixture to next week.
I've said that I'll make myself available as soon as I'm out of isolation. So any time between Friday and Thursday next week, I'll go to Christchurch in order to be able to debate Christopher Luxon.
Why can't you adapt to a new date?
Well, we're in the last week of a campaign and it's pretty hectic and it's pretty busy, and we've looked at it and we can't make it work. That is the #1 selling shoe in the world.
One tick blue on the shoe. The same for the party vote in Ilam is what the Opportunity Party, or TOP, wants in order to get leader Raf Manji into Parliament.
I'm going to win Ilam anyway, but I think from an insurance perspective, it makes a lot of sense. And I think people need and want...
Dan seems very confident.
Laying down this challenge to Luxon.
It's basically, it's Winston or Raf. Who do you want to deal with?
Calling on National to stand aside in Ilam so TOP gets into Parliament with a handful of MPs, meaning Luxon wouldn't have to rely on Winston Peters if that's what's needed to form a government.
So what's your message to Luxon? Yeah, be strategic.
Electorate deals aren't new. National's done them with United Future and ACT before, most notably in 2011 with the infamous cup of tea with John Banks, more recently with David Seymour.
What's the advice that Seymour's given you? He said, you're in the same position I was in 2017. So he said, look, you just got to work hard in Ilam and try and get across the line.
That strategy is a bit naive. You don't win a seat because someone else says you should. You win a seat because the voters want you to represent them.
It's a strange
In his
response.
case, Nationals candidate Paul
Very
Goldsmith
strange.
didn't campaign in Epsom, making it easier for Seymour.
Nationals candidate in Ilam is this guy, Hamish Campbell, but Luxon says he's not budging to make way for Raf Manji.
Winston or Raf?
Yeah, and my message to New Zealanders 11 days out from election is they're in charge, they're in control.
You wouldn't stand aside in order to keep Winston out of Parliament?
No, look, we're doing a really good ground campaign. We've got a lot of support, and we're going to continue to work hard up to the 14th.
I think it's probably a lack of strategic thinking, not just about this election, but about future elections.
Luxon not only upsetting the Opportunities Party, but also this wee Canterbury kid.
Alrighty. Okay, so had you seen that yet, Raf, or is it the first time you've seen it?
I had,
okay.
yeah.
Right.
I was there.
Yeah, I mean, have you seen the package they put together? You seem to be smiling all the way through.
I don't actually, to be honest, I rarely watch a news story, but I thought I should actually have a look at it.
All right. So I got a bunch of questions. Right. The first one is, have you? Lloyd said it, but just checking that, make sure it's what's happening. Have you actually talked to Seymour about what? Because the way it was sold was you've had a conversation with David Seymour about sort of what he did in Epsom. Did that conversation actually happen? And was it like a "can you give me advice" kind of conversation?
Oh, look, I mean, I have had a number of conversations with David Seymour over the last 3-4 months, from time to time, mainly because, again, I mean, the approach that I'm taking is being open to all parties. I have a relationship with James Shaw. I haven't spoken to him for a while, but I like to keep the channels of communication open because whether these guys like it or not, I could win Ilam, and then we've got a new party in Parliament, and I think fundamentally, if I can just say for a second, this goes back to 2017, as was raised in the story, and with Peter Dunne essentially stepping out of Parliament and United Future going, a partner who had been involved in most of the governments, I think, going back to the early 2000s, disappeared. So that was United Future. Yeah. And it's created a slight imbalance in Parliament where really the only option is Winston. And we saw that in 2017 when National suddenly fell a few seats, below what they needed. And Winston went into the deal with Labour. And during that 2017 election, where I was running again in Ireland, it was raised by a number of people that actually National needed another partner. Now, that didn't come to anything. Obviously, I mean, Jerry was not going to entertain any idea of not winning Ireland. But I think that's where this stuff has come from. So essentially, so I have been speaking to David Seymour, and I mean, the comment there, obviously, which is a takeaway line. I mean, clearly he was only in Parliament because National allowed him to be there. Yeah. And what do you think about that? Because we've been kind of almost been confused. He seems to think he's always won Epsom fair and square. I don't think anyone else in New Zealand thinks that. They always think it's come from the handshake, and it's come from National allowing him to win it. Do you see Epsom the same way as that? And do you see if the same for you, like they'd have to stand aside for you to win Ilam? Well, no, not really. I mean, I think Epsom, certainly in the initial days, was definitely National standing aside. And then I think, David became the elected MP and was, very well liked and probably won it on his own merits. But he's there. He won it initially because they gave it to him. Yeah. But he seems to have rewritten history a little bit on that, which is weird to me. Yeah, people like to, they say winners write history, don't they? Yeah. But I think if you go back to 2017, ACT's party vote was like 0.2%. And so essentially he was just there, like Peter Dunne, as sort of an extra pair of hands, because in MMP you often need a few extra people. And in 2020, when National imploded, some of those votes went to ACT. They got 7%, and suddenly they built on that. So, they politically, he's done a great job. And now they're polling at whatever it is, 12%. I think for me in Ilam, this hasn't come up. I mean, a lot of people have said to me, why aren't National doing a deal with you? Now, those are National supporters from around the country and here. But I think it's the rise of Winston over the last sort of month that has got a lot more people saying to me, why are National not doing something here? Because a lot of National supporters don't want to deal with Winston. They've been burnt by him before. But there are some National supporters that do like Winston. I mean, the big money that has suddenly appeared for Winston is the same big money that has been backing National and ACT. So some of, I'd say, probably the older New Zealanders might not be too bothered about New Zealand First, but younger people definitely are bothered about it. So this is why this has come up now in terms of a formal deal. I mean, there's not going to be any formal deal. Nationals made that quite clear, but the people of Ireland will make that decision. So those people who might have been wavering about Raf or Hamish might go, oh, actually, we don't want Winston. And essentially, this is free insurance, because if Winston gets 5%, he will hold the balance of power.
So it sounds like what you're saying, Raf, it sounds like what you're saying is, on some level, this is just a publicity exercise for you to educate the people of Ilam that this is what they need to do if they want to keep Winston out. The story said, quote, Luxon's being urged. The story said, you saying it makes sense. You said in the story, or the story said that you're calling on National to stand aside. You said in the story, it's Winston or Raf. It does sound like this is coming from you as an idea, but you're also saying this is not going to happen. So on some level, is it just a way to educate Ilam? You voters from National should actually put me in, and then we can block Winston.
Well, I think I mean, in terms of, we ran a story on our socials last week when we saw Winston at 5%, and, we worked out from the electoral calculator, yes, that we would offer another option. So we sort of said, okay, this is a great option for us to educate people locally, Winston or Raf. Now, obviously, that has gathered some interest from people, and the media have decided they want to run a story. So I didn't call the media, and I haven't been calling for National to do a deal or stand aside, but we have had conversations in the background. National's made it clear they're not interested in doing that. And the media have decided to run a story on it, which is good, because there's not many other stories to run at the moment after the cancellation of the press debate, and probably a little bit more focus on Christchurch, which is good. I mean, we were all looking forward to the debate tonight. It's always a kind of rowdy debate at the town hall. And this is the facts of the matter. I mean, the outcomes of this election, to a high probability, are either a National ACT government on their own. If Winston gets 5%, it's the National ACT New Zealand First government, probably, because nothing else really adds up. Yeah. Or if I win Ilam, it's a National ACT government with either New Zealand First or TOP as an alternative partner. Now, there's nothing we can do about those outcomes. All I can do is win Ilam and get us into Parliament, which has been the idea all along. And yeah, I'm confident that I'm going to win Ilam, and we'll see what happens. But strategically for MMP, I do think it's important that we have another party in Parliament. Otherwise, we're going to be back here with New Zealand First in three years' time.
Yeah, but you winning Ilam doesn't change New Zealand First. I mean, New Zealand First will be there or they won't. You winning Ilam's not going to change New Zealand First being in Parliament or not. What you're saying is it may change them being in government, but you winning Ilam won't change them being in Parliament.
No, there's no crossover between us and New Zealand First in terms of that party vote. New Zealand First are gathering votes from the fringe parties. We're seeing emails where they're saying, let's support Winston. We're seeing Winston at meetings with, Freedom New Zealand and people like that saying, look, come on board the New Zealand train. So you can see that pickup, because it only takes a couple of percent. And, he could get 6 or 7%. So that doesn't make any difference to us. It just makes a difference to what the next government looks like.
Well, but even that's a maybe, isn't it? Because if you were just looking at the polling, if you're lucky, if you were to win, you might drag one other person with you. So that means really National ACT still have to get to 59 seats in theory for you to be that balance of power. If they were to get, say, 57 seats and you were to get 2, you still can't help them get over the line.
Yeah, well, I think we'll get more than that. I think that I think we'll get at least 2%. I think we could get 3%. I think the Tamaki polling tonight had us at 2%. I think we will end up with 3 MPs. But even if that's the case, with my hypothetical numbers, if they had 57 seats, 3 gets you to 60, you're still not there. Yeah. So what I'm saying is the story was a little bit like, he could be a replacement to Winnie, but only if you have enough MP, only if you A, get there, and then B, have enough MPs to give them the balance of power. There's a couple of caveats to go with that as well. Yeah, look, I mean, nobody knows what the final numbers are going to be. The numbers we've been working on, as if Winston gets 5%, National ACT will have probably 59 or 60. But of course, everything depends on the final results. So from our perspective, what happens to New Zealand First is not really that relevant to us getting into Parliament. In terms of the outcomes from National's point of view, if they were being strategic, they want to have as many options as possible. That's just the basic facts of the matter, but that's not going to change the decisions that people make. As far as Ilam is concerned, the question for voters here is, do you want Raf or Hamish as your MP? And I'm confident that they're going to pick me.
That'll be obviously one of the areas we're watching, because I know that you've had some internal polling that says you're doing really well. The only polling I guess we've seen is the public hasn't been saying quite that. So that'll be one we're certainly watching on the day. And I guess I would say to you, as I would say to most MPs, good luck for the election on the day. Here's the thing that I want to get to. This is the third time you've been on with us. The first time you were on with just me, in fact, just with me, you were talking about no matter what happens, you're going to sit in the crossbenches and support nobody. The second time we had you on, you said you're going to sit in the crossbenches, but you might give supply and confidence. And you could do it to either side. And I pushed you quite hard on, but how do you decide which way you would go? And you were like, well, that's for after the election. We'd decide based on what we could get through. And now it seems like you're saying, well, we'll support National. So the thing that I'm interested in is why, from the outside looking in, and and look, I've been really honest with you. I actually, some of your policies are things I've been talking about for 20 years. So I like a lot of your policies, and I like you a lot, actually. But this idea of, National's not my bag, baby, so I can't give my support to someone.
I get that.
but I can't give my support to someone who may uphold a national government. So it's nothing personal. It's just purely strategic. And so I've told you this, and people seem to think that I don't like Top. It's not that at all. It's pure strategy. It's nothing.
It's okay. A lot of people don't like Top. That's fine.
Well, no, but that's not us. Well, certainly not me. I think Chewy might hate you a bit, but no, it's not me. Sorry, Chewy. I'm joking. It seems now that the only party you'll go with is National. What happens if they did do a deal with you? What happens if Labour came to you and said, we'll give you Ilam, because you and the Labour MP together probably would equal the seat? Would you then just flip your allegiance and support them, and you wouldn't support National? It does feel quite strange, Raf, that it seems that you've gone from we won't support anyone, we'll sit across the benches, to we might give supply and confidence to either side, to, hey, National, we'll do a deal with you. It feels quite bizarre, and not to talk negatively of you, but there is one comment here. Very disappointed with you, Raf, tying up with National. Why not Labour? I thought you were better than that. Now, I don't want to comment on the better than that, but I get the idea of I thought you were the neutral one, and now it seems like, no, you're going to uphold a national government only. Now, if you're going to say, but that's what the numbers say, I don't buy that yet. But it seems that you're throwing your bag in with National, and I'm interested at that journey and how you've got there.
Yeah, well, look, I would disagree with that. I mean, these are electoral realities, and we will still be on the crossbenches. I mean, we're not going, we're not interested in being in government. But obviously, so if you think about the potential outcomes, if New Zealand First doesn't get 5%, and I still win Ilam, National NACT will govern on their own, okay? And we'll be sitting on the crossbenches.
Yeah.
So all that is different is that if New Zealand First wins 5%, it's likely that we can also offer, let's say, surety to a stable government. And that's all that means. I mean, anything above that obviously depends on what potentially could happen after the election. In terms of Labour have no path to government. I mean, it's as simple as that. And I'll be frank, Labour have not spoken to me at all, ever, about anything. So, that's the way things are. So,
but National has? You're saying National has spoken to you about things?
Well, I'd say I have a much better relationship with National than Labour. I've got no relationship with Labour at all. And that's, that's the way it is. But in terms of what's going to happen, I don't think there are many options in front of us that haven't been discussed, because that's, the polling is reasonably steady over a long period of time. Now, that doesn't mean on the day things might be different. But with New Zealand First and Labour not able to work together, that means, that option is out. I mean, National could work with the Greens. Yeah, and this happens every election. This kind of National Green coalition gets raised, and we know that it's not going to happen. But
that's not going to happen.
What we want to see is a parliament where people can work together. And who's to say that National? I mean, I don't think they've got the capability to do it. But who's to say they don't have a minority government where they work with all parties in Parliament to pass the legislation they want to pass? Now, that's what MMP was designed to be like. That's not how
Did you say who's to say that? I would say Christopher Luxon has already said that, refusing to work with some parties.
I mean, look, I
think Christopher Luxon and Seymour and Winston Peters have already said that. So who's to say that? Those three leaders have said would say that.
Yeah, well, look, we're getting to the end game of this election, and it's reasonably clear how things are going to pan out. So, as far as I'm concerned, my main goal is to get the Opportunities Party into Parliament, and I'm going to do that by winning Ilam, and then we'll see what happens.
So what? My last question, Chewy, I know I've asked every question, then you can jump in with whatever you want, sir. What happens if Labor offered you a cup of tea?
I don't know. Like I said, I haven't even had a conversation.
No, but you know, but you haven't had an offer from National either, and we're having that conversation. What would you do if Labor said to you, "Well, we'll put all our support behind you now and tell all our people to vote for you"? What would that mean for you?
I don't think I'd be interested in that. I mean, to be honest, I don't really want a cup of deal. It's I'm going to win Ilam, but strategically for National, it makes sense for them to have insurance.
Hang on. You're saying you don't want a cup of tea deal, but you also said in that article that you're calling on National to stand aside.
Well, I'm not calling on National to stand aside. No, I have never said that. So you're digging a little bit under the ground here and putting words in my mouth, which I haven't said.
Okay, I'll repeat that. The article said, and it seemed to be attributing it to you. So you're not calling on National to stand aside. You've never had that intimation publicly.
No, because that would be rude. I mean, it's a contest, and I think it would be rude to ask someone to stand aside. No, but the voters of Ireland will make up their minds based on the outcomes they think that might happen.
So you're not calling them on to stand aside, but you do say it makes sense if you were to win Ilam.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It kind of feels like, I'm not telling you to do anything, but it would make sense if you did. Yeah, it just seems, anyway. Look, I'm really grateful you came on. We love having you on. Chewy, I'm not hogging all this time. Is there anything you want to ask or anything you want to get you from the chat?
Oh, you've blown through every single one of the points, Pat. It's fantastic. Look, I've just been gauging, I guess, the temperature of the chat, and we've got a reasonably, you know our chat, Raf. We're pretty nifty, but there's the crunchy croutons of some right-leaning folk in the chat as well, and it's real interesting. I think what we're seeing is the reaction to this is almost the curse of trying to be in the center, right? You're not keeping any of our chat happy.
Yeah, no one's going to be pleased. But what I would say is, on the ground here in Ilam, none of this really makes a lot of difference. I mean, I've just been at my 7th student flat chat. I've got another 10 to do over the next 10 days. Coffee catch-ups, pints with Raf. What people take away here on the ground is, we don't want Winston. Yeah, it would be silly for people not to vote for you. It's as simple as that. But people are not. They're not political nerds. They're not kind of into the weeds of this stuff. It's it's not a big deal to most people. They're going to make their decision on essentially who they want to be their MP, and their party vote. Yeah, will go wherever. I think pretty much people believe it's going to be a national-led government, and the only story for a lot of people is, they either do or they don't want Winston in charge of the next government. That's pretty much it.
I think that's where I'm at as well. Is like, any way you can get into Parliament is great for top, right? Once you're in, there's a pretty good chance that you'll grow and you'll stay in there as well. Much, I guess, as ACT have. And then the other part that I quite like about it is, if there's any way to shut Winston out, if it just came down to like, well, we only need one more seat and Top's got one and Winston, for some reason, let's say he's got 5, and they go, well, we just need the one. We don't need this guy. That would be delicious. And I would swallow that pill.
So I guess Chewy's actually echoing what you've said. Chewy's actually saying
essentially, yeah. I mean, you can play. This is the problem with MMP. This is the problem with the threshold. The fight, and even for New Zealand First. I mean, if they get 5.1, they've got 6 MPs. If they get 4.9, they've got no MPs, and it's kind of unfair. And I think I think somebody wrote a good piece on this. Yeah, essentially, the 5% threshold pretty much precludes new parties coming in, and we have to think about either we're just going to stick with what we've got, in which case we've sort of got first past the post, left or right, or we have something where it's a bit more context and people can work across the aisle, and you could have Christopher Luxon saying to James Shaw, do you want to keep being Minister of Climate Change, because actually all about this stuff and it's all a bit complicated, none of us understand the ETS anyway, and we're not quite there. And I think if we can get into Parliament, my hope is that we can change those conversations and that we can have different types of agreements about different types of policies which actually deliver better outcomes for Kiwis. And, you know, yes, maybe I'm being a bit optimistic, but this is the election where we're going to test that hypothesis to see if it works.
I do have one other question. It's a bit of a negative question. Sorry, Raf, but I just did think about it just as you guys were talking. What happens on the Monday after election if you don't get there? What happens to Raf's life? What are you doing?
Oh, God. Having a rest, I'd imagine. Look, I don't know. A few people have asked me about that. I think for me, yeah, I guess I'll make a decision then. The party, that's not my decision. That's a decision for the board and the members, which we'll deal with at AGM, I think, in early December. Yeah, it's, I put everything into this. And yeah, things are going well here. I mean, it feels like my 2013 council campaign where a lot of people thought I wasn't going to win, and I did. And it feels like the ground feedback is really good. And, you know, we have a very broad ground campaign here and a lot of networks, and it's pretty positive.
Hey, thanks for joining us. Always appreciate it, Raf. Maybe we're actually going to do a live stream on the night of the election. Maybe we can send you the link, and if you've got spare 2 minutes, one way or the other, and best of luck. You can jump on for a few minutes and give us your thoughts.
Yeah, let's see what happens. It's going to be an interesting election, and there's a lot of people out there who are basically just unhappy with Labour and National, and I think it's hard to know where they're going to stick their vote.
Yeah, very good. Raf Manji, leader of TOP.
Okay,
best of luck for the next 10 or 12 days, and good luck with the election.
Cheers, man. Thank you.
All right, all the best.
Thanks, Raf.
There you go. Anything you want to follow up with, Chewy? Any of the chats that were in there? Lovely to have Raf on.
There's so much, but I really do want to highlight the temperature there. Like, I mean, TOP, I think because they were reasonably socially progressive, a lot of lefty people were like, they got some good ideas. And then that goes out the fucking window when we're talking about cuddling up to National. And,
but yeah. if people are thinking that, then they've thought wrong. We've been saying here very clearly they are socially progressive, and they appear to be. And if Raf was still here, I'd ask him, but he's gone. So I'll say appear to be much more neoliberal when it comes to the economy, to finance, to money. Yeah. That's how it comes across to me, and it actually is sort of what United Future was. Although I think TOP is more socially liberal than United Future were.
And correct me if I'm wrong. That's kind of Raf's background, right? Is finance? Yeah. So
but also but also what do you call it? Like NGOs. He's been involved in those as well. So it is both. It is both.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting. Like Raf is running up against someone. Oh, I just looked it up where he is on the national list, and I've got so many fucking tabs open. God knows where it is. But I think he's way down the list.
Mm.
So I mean,
so if he doesn't get in, if he doesn't win Ilam, he's not in.
Yeah, absolutely. Where some of the other seats that we're talking about, you know, Simon O'Connor, he's reasonably down the list as well. So, you know, it's really important for him to win his seat. You know, Goldsmith doesn't matter. He's coming in anyway. You know, and that's when you get stuff like Epsom, where it's like, well, you know, we didn't do a deal, but he also didn't campaign for his seat at all. He just carried on with his day, did a crossword puzzle, I guess.
It's also fair to say that he is absolutely, Seymour is absolutely the MP for Epsom now, and he wins it off his own accord. But if they hadn't have shaken, I don't know, it feels really weird when he actually actively said that they didn't gift it to him, he won it off. It's like, well, no. I mean, we were there. We saw. I mean, unless what he's saying is I won it, being Seymour, versus previous incarnations of him where there were actual handshakes and nothing going on. Unless that's what he's saying, which maybe, I don't know. But they've got that seat because National gave it up. If National never had given it up, they wouldn't have the seat. It's simple as that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lots of chats going on.
So much, just kicking off.
Geez, can you imagine the wrath of Winston if Raf pips him out of Parliament?
That's what I'd be like. National get in, but if they do, all I want there is to be Raf with his foot on stopping the door opening for winning. Would be that's all he needs to be is Hodor to keep winning out.
Hold the door. Personally, I would prefer Raf over Winnie, says Planner.
Absolutely, no
and that seems
contest.
to be some that are. These are actually questions for Raf. Sorry, we didn't get to these. I talked for a bit long. You may have noticed that about me. There we go. Custom Aim says, if there's going to be any left-wing influence and a chance of government, Top is a good
I would say
hedge.
that means a change of government.
Oh, change of government. Oh gosh, there's everywhere. And Justin's just sent us a blank super chat. Thank you, Justin, for the $5. Make sure if you do a super chat, because we always mention super chats. Look, I preface that by saying we always mention super chats unless they're like illegal or racist or completely horrific. So I don't think you're going to give us. I mean, you could test it. Give us $100 and say something horrific and see if we use it. Go on, test us. See how far we'll go. And then Politico has to come in with his electioneering. Greens will be on 15% this election, mark my words. I think that's a really interesting bet, Politikiwi. Will they get 15%?
I'm going to agree with it.
15 though? I mean, like, I think that'll
15.
be around 14 to 16, 13 to 17. Not saying no, but I think it could.
If it's
it could
15.1, he loses that bet.
Hey,
but look, there's some. I mean, I haven't seen any real solid polls since last week's debate. I haven't seen anything this week or anything like that. But I mean, it's interesting. I do feel like Luxon's reeling a little bit after having his ass handed to him in that debate.
Yeah,
and then I do think they're definitely whiffing their chance with the Christchurch debate.
The other one, Pat, around 14 to 16, but not 15. Yeah, no, look, with that story covered the debate, and I'll say it again. I actually kind of think fair enough that Luxon's not doing it, and I'll tell you why. Two main reasons. He is going to have a completely full calendar next week, and there's a leaders debate next week. Like Hipkins has said, anytime I'll do it. No, not anytime, because at 7 o'clock next Thursday night, you're in the TVNZ studios doing another leaders debate. So I actually think, I mean, if I was with Luxon's team,
I don't know, man.
Nah, it's fair. I think it's fair enough for two reasons. I think it's fair enough because they would have to change a whole bunch of the diary around, which they could do, and it would take half a day away. No, of course they could do, but that would be two leaders debates in 1 week, like Tuesday and Thursday. I don't see the need for the public to have a leaders debate on Wednesday night and a leaders debate on Thursday night of next week. I don't see the need for it. So I think that I think that, as Nicole has said, still a chicken. Fine. What?
Our numbers spike with every debate. Yes, we can have two leaders.
There should be 4. There should be 4 debates next week. That's what
every
I meant
day.
to say. Every day there should be 3.
No, look, I think, this is me being the parochial South Islander, right? When they point out that it's the only debate that happens in the South Island, that's tweaked me. It's like, come on, man, pull the effort. When you can jump on a plane anytime you want, you can look at your diary, you can shuffle a few things around, you can jump on a plane. But my main thing with this is again, it's that unforced error, right? It's like Chippy's blameless in this because he's got COVID.
Yeah.
All you had to say is, yeah, sure, we'll see if it works. And then just kick the can down the road until it doesn't. But you've
pretty bad messaging.
You've let the messaging be that you've pulled out of it and you're a chicken and people are going to run and they're going to smack you with it for the next couple of days.
Can I also say, South Islanders, ODT, where the fuck are you? ODT has a newspaper and a television network. It's a Southern television network. Why are we actually? I'm not saying okay. I'll blame Luxon. Fine, whatever you want. But what about ODT? What have they been doing? Why didn't they put something together 2 weeks ago? Why is this the only South Island debate? I guarantee you. We know that Luxon's in Christchurch again. I guarantee you that some of these other media entities in the South Island didn't give it a go. They did a finance debate up in Queenstown. Where's the ODT on this? Where are some of the other newspapers? There's local television networks down here as well. I just bet you they didn't do it. It's a big thing to host one of these. Costs a lot of money. The press has become a tradition. Other media companies, I mean, Chewy, blame us. Why didn't we host them both down here in my basement? All right.
Host Luxon in my basement.
You nearly them out.
That didn't sound
so good.
Like I planned it.
Hey,
let's have a
bit of fun for a sec. We've been talking about Winston. This is a great one. New Zealand first candidate in a spat with community group after refused access to toilet. Are you drinking the tears?
Oh, it's delicious.
Okay, here we go. A New Zealand first candidate is in a spat with an Auckland community hub for not letting her use their toilet. But the group says it couldn't let a stranger in the facility because it was running a school holiday program. The only thing that would make this better is if they did it on purpose as a political statement. They didn't. They just followed the rules. But imagine if it was like we know who you are. How about no to using this public toilet? You're a danger to our children. And I'm going to go Digia Pala is the Kelston candidate and number 15 on the party's list. On Monday, Digia Pala hid out at the community house on Pisces Road in Glen, accusing them of not allowing her to use their bathroom when she needed to go. After walking around in Glen Eden today, I needed to use a washroom. I think she's from 1800s England from the looks of things. Saw a community house on Pisces Road and went in and was refused entry to use the ladies. Was told it's not a council facility and run by a board, so no public access was allowed. Oh, what to do? Unkindness is gross, she wrote. Has she met her leader?
Please.
However, I've actually got the best part of the story that no one's picked up on yet. No one's seen it yet, and I'll show you something in a sec. However, someone involved in the community house claimed they were there when Digia Pala asked, but couldn't let her in because they were running an after-school program and it was a safety issue. Bathrooms and safety issues. We do have holiday program in place. So under the Vulnerable Children's Act, we cannot let just anybody into the building, they said. Another person who was involved in running the community house backed this up, saying, we are governed by law not to allow unauthorised, non-police vetted into the building while we have children on site. The Pala declined to comment when contacted by Newshome.
Oh, shit.
With the facts. When the facts came, she declined to comment. The Facebook post made its way to Reddit, front page of the internet, where many pointed out the irony of her demands to use the toilet while her party is campaigning on toilet safety. Wait, so someone from the party of toilet policing gets upset when other people have rules for accessing their toilets? Thought their key policy was supposedly all about making toilets safe for women and children. She felt entitled as a random stranger to use a space rented by another group, said another. Now, it goes on to talk about what the policy is. New Zealand First, promising to pass legislation that require all new public organisations to provide separate and clearly demarcated unisex and single-sex bathrooms. The legislation would also ban anyone from accessing facilities designed for the opposite sex. Now, Chewy, I can smell you drinking the tears. I've got one other thing to add to this, but the floor is yours, sir.
See, this is why in every community house, in every public toilet around the world, well, we'll start with New Zealand, but we have to get Winnie P's penis police run out. So we avoid this sort of conflict. They need to be on site 24/7, just on the off chance. Look, personally, if I was a candidate running in an electorate, I'd try not to be in a story that A says hits out at community house. That's not a good phrase for a candidate. Or be involved in any story that involves you begging to use the toilet
and getting denied,
and then getting denied, because that's just bad. And then the absolute irony of it being, nominally about children's safety and public access to toilets and all of this sort of stuff is just, it's just too perfect. This looks like it was written for comedy.
Well, speaking of comedy, you know how candidates probably have been told they should go through their Twitter feeds and get rid of all sorts of things on their Twitter feed which their leaders or parties may find embarrassing? Well, and Giapala seems to no longer use her Twitter feed. However, there is another irony on her Twitter feed from not very long ago. Now, remember who New Zealand First are, right? Remember what they're trying to do at the moment. Remember the knowledge and the what Winston Peters is saying about the trans community. Do you think he would have preferred her to go and remove the retweet that this alleged MP would want to have, which was Helen Clark's statement for International Day Against Homophobia and Transphobia on her Twitter feed. Now, I'm highlighting it because it's a good thing, but I get the feeling Winston Peters might have wanted them to get rid of this because there's another irony in place where she seems to be highlighting days against homophobia and transphobia on her Twitter feed, which hasn't been used since 2013, whilst her party is trying to inspect the genitals of people as they go into bathrooms, Chewy. So maybe she should have scrubbed that because it's an embarrassment. Her being against homophobia and transphobia is an embarrassment to New Zealand First. That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely. My God, can't anybody just hold a coherent thought for like a couple of years before running for Parliament? Oh.
We've had a challenge by Justin. I'm going to do it, Justin. I said challenged as to how bad one thing you can have on the thing, a super chat, and we'll do it. Justin says a bunch of, he's put unts, but why wouldn't we say cunts? I mean,
but the Broadcasting Standards Authority.
Yeah, no, us and Plunkett get around that by going, yeah. Every single last mother effing one of them. Bunch of unts. Every single last mother effing one of them. From Justin. Thanks, Justin. $20. Have we ever had a $20 super chat before? Maybe when we did that. When we did that night for Byron.
If you're gonna drop a $20 a Lizzie, you don't have to edit. It's fine.
Yeah, we're big boys. We're big boys. Thank you very much. Very generous super chat. I appreciate that. Gosh, let's get on to the big news story of the day. Well, it's not really the big news story of the day, but it's probably the feature news story of what we're doing. No, it's not quite. We normally do that at 10 to. It's 14 minutes to right now, but we'll get into it a little bit earlier. Our potentially next hairless leader, his name is Christopher Luxon. He was on the Hui, and he completely muffed up his numbers, Chewy. You might be surprised to hear that.
I'm not surprised to hear.
He didn't know his numbers when he was talking about tax. And of course, the Hui is a program put out primarily to speak about Māori issues and Māori news. And so, of course, you go on there wanting to speak about Māori issues. And obviously, you're going to be asked questions about Māori issues. So if it's going to be about your tax policy, it's going to be about how it impacts Māori. That's pretty obvious. You would think that the party of business, you would think that the ones who are going to run the economy better would say, for example, know how much minimum wage earners would earn per year. Yeah, it seems not to be the case.
How will your tax cuts achieve equity, particularly for Māori, say with average wage?
Yeah, so if you look at it, an average wage earner in New Zealand would be $50 better off a fortnight under
average
us with
wage.
our tax relief plan.
Average wage earner. So I get confused with that because there's the mean and the median, but it's either 75 or it's 95. It's so $1,000 a year is the average. I know which one. Someone will tell me in the chat.
And what I've decided to do is that actually in a cost of living environment that we're all going through at the moment, and the fact that, you know, we've got a government that frankly I don't think has looked after low and middle income New Zealanders well, I am targeting them with tax relief because I want them to keep more of their own money in their pocket.
So the question is, how would it help Māori? And he's talking about all of New Zealand and he's talking about the average wage.
To spend and to save and to, as they see fit. And that helps Māori or non-Māori, frankly.
Okay, but you said New Zealanders, right?
Yes.
What is the Māori average income?
It'll be lower than the average income across New Zealand. It'll be about $62,000, is it?
44,000.
44. So you're just above.
So,
whoa.
He had a guess. Luxon had he's coming on a Māori show to talk about Māori issues, and he had a guess, pulled it out of his arsehole, that the average Māori earner would be $62,000, whereas research shows it's 44. So he's out by basically
fucking hell.
20 grand. And then I'll go back a few
just
seconds.
A casual 20 grand.
And then he goes on to talking about minimum wage.
Is it?
44,000.
44. So you're just above minimum wage.
So above minimum wage. No, but, so above minimum wage. So 44,800 is above minimum wage. That's what he's saying. Right? You get that? So it's above minimum wage. Do it again.
before, so you're just above minimum wage.
So I'm not trying to trap you.
No, but
I just want to make sure that we understand when we talk about average wage and when we talk about all New Zealanders,
so I
that there are
understand,
differences.
Julian, let me be clear.
Yep.
I fully understand that there are massive differences between Māori outcomes and non-Māori outcomes. Whether you look at health...
Well, hang on, not massive differences, because if the average wage is about 75, you think there's about a 12% difference, because you said 62, whereas really it's 44. So you weren't thinking a massive difference, but it actually is a massive difference. So do you understand that, Mr. Luxon? Or are you just saying you understand that now because of the audience you're speaking to? Because you seem to think there was about a 10 to 15% difference in outcomes when it comes to salary, but it's probably more like a 40% difference.
Non-Māori outcomes, whether you look at health, education, wealth, economy, home ownership, everything, right? I get it. But the question is now, I'm a little bit tired of the conversation. I want outcomes and I want delivery. I've sat there watching a government for 6 years that hasn't delivered for Māori or non-Māori, and I actually want those outcomes changed. But the way we do that is actually we've got to build a much stronger economy, because actually that is the thing that enables us to afford the public services we want for Māori or non-Māori.
No, I understand the point. The reason why I raise the point about wages, and in particular 1/3 of Māori who earn under 30k.
Did you get that? Say it again. Average wage for Māori, 44,000. 1/3 of Māori earn under $30,000. Under $30,000. And Luxon's talking about the average wage, which is between 75 and 95,000.
In particular, 1/3 of Māori who earn under 30k. I mean, how much better off will they be under your government and your tax cuts? And how will that in any way, shape or form address the inequity?
Yeah.
Now, before he answers, I've seen someone written in the chat, the National Party, Chewy, you could try and look it up. The National Party tax calculator is currently down. I couldn't get on it. I was trying before I got onto the show to get the exact figure. But I can tell you from looking at it in the past, $30,000, you'll be at $1 to $2 a week better off. Right? So that 1/3 of Māori will be $1 to $2 better a week off. If you are minimum wage, which by the way, is not $44,000, it's higher than that. $44,000 is less than minimum wage. But Luxon doesn't know that. If you were at minimum wage, which is about 47,000, you'd get $10 a week. 30,000, you're going to get single figures a week. So that's the actual benefit financially that 1/3 of Māori are going to get. Now, Luxon's going to try and spin a top, but that's what the actual truth is.
Or form address the inequity.
Yeah, so essentially what you've got is, just so you understand the tax plan, the minimum wage is essentially what you're saying now is the average median wage for Māori.
No. Minimum wage is not $44,000. The average median wage for Māori, it's not that, Mr. Luxon.
Full-time working Māori is essentially the minimum wage. With that comes a whole bunch of other entitlements and or provisions that will continue. You know, if you think about accommodation supplements and other entitlements that happen through our welfare system.
But not public transport.
No, for sure.
Not free for under twos.
No,
because, not $5 prescription.
No, but actually we are going to deliver Family Boost, which is actually helping families, 130,000 families who earn under $180,000, who have early childhood costs. We're going to give the money directly to them, up to $75 a week.
Okay, so remember what he said. If you're earning under $130,000, you can get up to $75 a week, yada, 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 yada. That's 130,000 people or families or people in New Zealand. And so in other words, if you happen to be Māori, earning $44,000 and have 2 kids who are in early childhood education, you'll be doing a little bit better. As soon as those kids hit primary school, it all goes away. Because it's only provisions for families, he used the word families, multiple incomes with kids who are between 2 and 5. That's it. Anyone else, if you're a Māori family and you've got kids who are 6 and 7, fuck yeah, you don't get it. Only for kids between 2 and 5, because it only applies to early childhood education. So this is the shell game the National's playing at the moment with these numbers. Families, we're giving $250 a fortnight to families. No. The caveats are how much you earn, how much your partner earns, and if your kids happen to be between 2 years old and 5 years old. If you're that, you might get up to $125 a week. If they don't, let's say you're just Māori and you're a single person, you're on a wage and you're on $30,000 or $44,000, which is the average, you might get $1 or $2. So just be aware of the shell game.
Childhood costs, we're going to give the money directly.
Sorry, were you going to say something, Joe?
I was just going to say, so the National Party tax calculator, as I see it right now, is accurate. You enter it in, and then you get nothing.
Very good. But that's why you get paid to do the comedy here.
To them, up to $75 a week, $3,900 a year. And that is really important because actually for low and middle income earners, that's something that's going to help them tremendously.
Okay, so
just because it's not the Labor Party policy of delivering
of course,
2-year-olds,
low
we've
and
got a
middle
better
income
mechanism, we
earners,
believe, to get the money to people to support them with their childcare costs.
Okay, so,
right?
but, so just
and likewise on public transport, I'll just say to you, rather than trying to do it that way, what we're saying is let's give people tax relief and then they can spend and navigate those costs that they've got to deal with themselves.
$2
again, please, Chris. So for a third of Māori who earn under 30k, how much should they get in tax?
Well, that's not a full-time minimum wage earner in New Zealand. A full-time minimum wage earner in New Zealand is earning about I think $42,000.
You're out by 45. You're out by $100 a week, Mr. Luxon. How A, out of touch do you need to be, and B, unprepared do you need to be as the fucking party who says they can run the economy and they're the expert in tax, that you can be out by $100 a week.
$22.70 an hour times $40 40 hours a week gets you to where you need to be. And what we're saying for a minimum wage earner in New Zealand, it will be about $26 a week.
Okay, what do you make of the
$20 a fortnight, sorry.
So there's the first part of the story, Chew. I want to play one other thing, right? Because that then a bit more chatty. It went into the ad break. And when the hui came out of the ad break, would have been a fly on the wall. But I suspect what would have happened is some underling for Mr. Luxon that was there was sweating and things coming out his or her ears and would have run up to Mr. Luxon to correct his error as to what minimum wage actually was. And so when they came out of the ad break, this is how it went.
Hoki mai anō ko te hui, tēnei ko te hui. Kia Christopher Luxon. He is, of course, the leader of the National Party. Chris Luxon is with us.
So, Julian, can I just correct? Minimum wage is $47,000 a year. It'd be $20 a fortnight. Someone would get under our plan. And if you get median wage, it'd be $50 a fortnight.
I'm sure people will pick up on that.
So,
wow,
oopsie.
That was clumsy. That was
Oopsie.
super clumsy. Do you think
he didn't know what minimum wage was? And when asked about Māori, whose average wage is $44,000 and a third of them earn under $30,000, he couldn't tell them anything. He could tell them what the average earner was, which is that middle, or what families under 100, which is not what he was asked. So he either doesn't know, or what's probably more obvious, Chewy, if you look at what those who are on, let's say, less than 50 grand are going to earn, it's 3/5 of fuck all, and they don't want to highlight that.
No, and this is the problem when you've been hammering the point that it's tax relief for the low and middle income, and everybody goes, "Oh, is it? Let's run the numbers." How can we expect a millionaire, former CEO, owner of 7 houses, to know what that is? Why would he bother about $200 a week?
Yeah,
you know, it's like. I know politicians always try to get caught out on gotcha cost of living sort of thing. How much is $2 worth of milk? How much is a banana? $20? Who knows? But this is the stuff that counts. When you're sitting there and you're saying that this is a policy for low and middle income earners, so therefore it should be it should be an issue that I bring up on the hui, right? And to not be across that. This is what makes me think, like, when I go on about people being like national supporters should be angry at this dude as well, right? When he has phoned it in to this degree, when he's going on a show a couple of weeks out for an election that is going to be like, hey man, we don't think you do anything for Māori, is you come on with numbers and you're across the things that you are going to do for Māori, but he hasn't even bothered doing that. Yeah. Like, he is not good at this.
No, it's shocking as well. I mean, like, I guess we could be generous if we wanted to go and go, everyone misses up their numbers sometimes. But if you are putting yourself out there as the leader of the party of the economy, the leader of the party with all the answers to help, the leader of the party who's going to give tax reductions, there's not the grace there Like, I flub my words all the time. I said something last night about a literal human being when I meant these human beings were literally saying, but of course they were literal human beings. They were actual real human beings. I do it all the time. I get my words mixed up all the time. I'm not making a claim, though, that I'm the world's greatest orator, right? For people to call me on that. He is making the claim that they are the best to run the economy. They know numbers better. They're the party of business. They are making that claim. So I think you can hold them to a higher regard. There you go, I just messed that word up. A higher standard than perhaps others. And to not know what the minimum wage is if you work a full-time job.
That's a basic baby shit, right?
But when you get asked, what about? I mean, I'm okay with him not knowing what the average Māori earns, although you think you would have done that work. But then when you have a guess at it, a stab at it, and you're out by $20,000, you're out by $400 a week.
47? Yeah,
you're out by $400 a week, 62 to 44. It's not quite 400, but you're out by $350 a week. Does that show ignorance? Does that show arrogance? Does that show disconnection from society? You know, well, surely someone couldn't live off any less than $62,000 if they were Māori. 44. Oh, okay. So a bit more than minimum wage. No. $100 a week less than minimum wage, Mr. Luxon. It just reeks of that kind of do as I say, not as I do. I've got the answers. What are they? You don't need to know. Yada, 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 yada.
Yep. Luxon didn't live here for years and years and years and years. He's come into a CEO job and made a bunch of money. He's completely isolated from the things that he is claiming to care about because it is not about him. National Party is not about us. It's not. It's tax relief for low and middle income earners. Fuck off. We know what it is. We've said it right from the start. It hasn't stopped being true. The tax cuts are not for us. The cuts are not for us. Their tax cut policy hangs on such a tenuous thread that has been shown that they cannot defend, and then their backstop and their true objective is austerity and to take a scythe through the public sector, to take billions of dollars off the lowest earners in our society, the people on benefits, and to give almost exactly that same amount of money, you can look it up, to landlords.
Yeah.
You cannot get more Acme villain than these guys are doing it. And they're not even trying to hide their fucking workings.
That's what you do. Do
you know, I see someone in the chat going on, yeah, but Labour's for the unions. Yes, they're a workers' party. Do you know what unions are made out of? Workers. And parties like the National Party have had their foot on unions' necks every time they've been in government. So, you know, if you're talking about the dominance of the Labour unions in New Zealand, oh, mate, pick up a history book. See what it was. The Labour unions used to be able to shut down a port. Shut down all the ports. They used to stop coal coming out of the ground. You know, if you want to talk about union power, that's when it was. Here, yeah, we've got some unions. They've got some members. They contribute to the Labour Party, but it's not a shadow of what it was. And yet maybe there should be some adjustment there. Join a union, folks. Join your union. Just go and do that.
The other thing which we haven't really brought up so much in this part of the conversation is, you know, when Julian was talking about the things that are going away, $5, prescriptions and the public transport.
Stacks up.
Yeah, public transport. And of course, thanks for the super chat, Luke. Appreciate the $3.49. 20 hours ECE being lost should be made more public. And what they're saying is, what the national line is, we're putting the money back in people's hands. Yeah, but if people are going backwards already, putting money in their hands, and then they have to pay more for their childcare. Or we even saw a story of, like, when they first announced their policy, it was on one of the either TVNZ or News Hub, about a family who would be eligible for that $125 a week. And they went, I think it was 6 kids, or maybe it was a family of 6 with 4 kids. All of them take public transport to and from school every single day. This will be worse off for us. So even though they were being given $125 a week potentially, you know, the other way was going $150 to $200.
Yeah.
So it's
you got
not,
to stack all of these things together, right?
Yeah.
So Luxon's saying, yeah, here's your $50 a fortnight or whatever. And while he's telling you that and shaking your head and being a good guy, Nicola Willis has broken in your back door and raided your piggy bank and taken all your kids' toys. You know, and then when you're having to talk to the IRD about tax credits or something like that, guess what? It's going to take a couple of weeks for someone to get back to you because there's no one left in the fucking office.
No one in the back room.
Do you need to go down to Wins for some assistance? Well, guess what? You know, everything is going to grind to a halt. All of these changes that they said that they're going to make to various government departments, who's going to be fucking there to do them?
Yeah.
Nicola Willis wants to sack thousands of people just before Christmas. She's been gleeful about it.
Yeah, well, it was David Seymour who said 15,000 will go. He put a number on it.
Don't lose track of this. Voting's open now. Like, if you're as angry as I was so angry, I voted before lunchtime on the first day. The decision's made. Like, if you're sitting there going, oh, I don't know, I'm a bit undecided. Hey, you're not paying attention. Like, I don't expect that that's anybody in our chat that haven't really made up their mind one way or the other, right? We're political tragics, and we're just here for the train wreck. But you guys have an obligation. I saw a thing today that looked at registered voters under the age of 30. There's 185,000 unregistered voters, and we're lucky that's not a barrier to voting, right? You can go and you can register on the day, that sort of thing. But you talk to the young people in your lives and get them involved, and it's hard, right? Because nobody's talking to them. You know, they're all low and middle income earners, and Luxon wants to hit that point that the tax cuts are for them. You show them the money. You show them $10 a week and go, how much is that going to help you with your public transport? How much is that going to help you with your food? Your rent's probably going up. You know, this is going to disappear like smoke. And get them to vote in their best interest. They're also the people that are going to have to live the longest with the consequences of shitty climate policy. Get people to the polls.
Big reminder that Thursday night this week we'll be here early. We'll be here at 7 o'clock. We'll be here to do the all parties debate. I think it's hosted by Jack Tame. We should look that up, because if it is, that'll be Winston and Jack again. That should be fun to watch. Because they've just had a bit of an interaction, a bit of an abusive relationship, I think that is. We got one more story to quickly go over. G'day, girl. Get on your mat. Go on. Lie down. Good girl. Unless there's anything else you want to particularly talk about with that, Chewy? I know you've got one other thing you want to show us later, but...
Yeah, I want to go through the vote compass thing, but yeah.
All right,
yeah,
well, let's do this first, because we teased we were going to do it at the start. This is the election 2023. ACT's party, Brooke van Velden, hot on National Simon O'Connor's heels and Tamaki electorate poll. Auckland Tamaki electorate can no longer be considered a safe blue seat, one commentator says, with new polling showing ACT party Brooke van Velden is closing the gap. The poll results reveal van Velden and National Simon O'Connor are locked in a statistical tie.
Gosh.
The results of the Taxpayers Union Courier poll have been released as the two candidates go head-to-head in the union's last debate before the election. I hate media companies. This is Bomber's show tonight. They never mention it. Like, hello, be honourable, people. Be honourable media. Say where you've got it from. Latest debate, on the Working Party podcast with Bomber Bradbury. O'Connor is slightly ahead, with 35% of the respondents saying that they'd give him their vote. Oh, next page. Van Velden, meanwhile, is hot on his heels at 33%, excluding undecided voters. Van Velden is taking support for the seat of ACT's candidate up 30 percentage points since the 2020 election. Of those who voted for O'Connor at the last election, 50% they would vote for him again. 43%, however, said they would flip to Van Velden. On the campaign trail, two voters who had, quote, always voted National, end quote, told the Herald they thought O'Connor hadn't been visible as their Member of Parliament. If it wasn't for Brooke standing, we would have blindly gone for the invisible man, Tamaki voter Margaret said.
Yikes.
A reference to O'Connor, that's his nickname now, she said. So I guess we'll wait and see. It's been another one of those interesting electorates. I don't think it'll make much difference, because if you're not, other than for someone like Ilam, it doesn't really matter who wins the seats. It's all about the party vote, and Māori party as well. Why are we looking? What's that about?
Kiwi Rob was shouting in all caps, so I think that he was saying that the Herald's poll result is wrong. This might be a different poll.
I wouldn't think so.
This is the one that he's put up.
Whatever. That was the one from Things show tonight. So as we just said, that's from the. We'll look at that. We'll probably look at some of that debate tomorrow night. It was happening as we just came on. So yeah, there you go, Chewy. That's going to be interesting. To see
two dreadful people with a race to the bottom. Simon O'Connor is a literal demon. I think he's the one that was stoked about the rollback for Roe versus Wade. And obviously Brooke is part of the ACT party. So, God, Tamaki, Jesus, that is grim.
Grim. So, what do you got for us?
So, as I go through tab hell, where did I put it? I saw this this thing pop up on Twitter today, and I loved when I mentioned that at the start of just before we went to air. You said you found something on Twitter, it better be real. I love this. So this is going back to the 2014 elections, of course, pretending that we have just a binary system. Likability ratings between the two main party candidates.
Well, the two would be prime ministers. So the top two is obviously 2014, then English and Ardern is 2017, Collins and Ardern is 2020, and now it's Luxon and Hipkins 2023.
Now, what I find really interesting here is we often talk about John Key's likability with the electorate, right? So we can kind of use that as a base standard, all right? 5.7 is a likable prime minister that someone would like to share a bunning sausage with. David Cunliffe, Bill English, objectively more boring man, but safe pair of hands, 5.1. Jacinda Ardern, much higher. The famously likable Judith Collins coming in at 4.4. And then Chris Luxon at 3.8.
So the most unlikable, can you say that? Or the least likable is probably a better way of saying it. National Party leader there's been over the past 4 elections. Interesting.
So, yeah, I found that really interesting. I actually hadn't done the vote compass, so I thought I would do it. Would you like to see my result?
Yeah. I can tell you what mine was as well. I was the other way around.
I haven't put my email there. So that's good.
I was basically, I can't see your percentages though. Can you zoom in or just tell us what they are? What's Greens and Māori for you?
Oh, it's disappeared. Or is that better?
Scroll down.
No.
Is it 85, did it say? Jeez, I'm
85% Green.
Yeah, I was
79% to Party Māori. Top and Labour Party basically neck and neck for me.
Yeah, right.
And then likability, I thought was kind of interesting as well.
Rowdy.
I like Rowdy because he's got that style. I like he's got Air Jordans and a cowboy hat.
I didn't actually do. I don't know. I don't remember what mine was for leaders. I'll do mine again tomorrow and bring it up tomorrow night.
Winston Peters bringing out the rear on 0. Even Seymour more likable. But yeah.
Gosh.
And there's the old matrix of voting there.
Yeah, you're basically in the same place as me, up there by Te Pāti Māori and Greens. That's where I was. In between, I was Te Pāti Māori up there and between Labour and them as well. We're in the similar place. Although you're probably more authoritarian than me from memory. Is that true? Anyway.
I try to keep that on the down low.
Okay, I'll shut up then. All right, guys. Hey, so tomorrow night, normal show, see at 9 p.m. Thursday night, the all parties debate, 7 p.m. So we'll be here at 7 p.m. through to sort of 8:30, I guess it is, 8:30, and then we might stick around for a little bit afterwards. I might try and see if I can get that Discord going as well, and if we can, maybe we'll do it for debate night. Last time we tried to do it, I changed the setting and I couldn't figure it out. So I'll have a squiz again and see if I can get it going. And if I can, maybe we'll give you a chance to come and have a chat with us as well after the debate. And if not, we just won't. So that's us for tonight. Appreciate you all being with us. It's been a good night. Appreciate Raf coming on. Genuine good luck to him for the election. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I get the sense that he won't be able to be balance of power. I don't think National and ACT will be that close. I think together they'll need a third party, and I think they'll need more than 2 or 3 MPs. I really do. And even Raf, I said that you might drag through 2, and he said, I think we'll get 3. It's like, so we're only debating about one person. I don't think. Felix is saying I got to say hi to Nala. Nah, come here. Hey. Come. Come on, Sleepy. Come, up here. Up. There she is. There she is. I've got to move my microphone. There she is. There she is. She's a good girl. Do you want to say hello? She's a good girl. She's going back to her. She's like, why did you get me up? I was asleep. I was having fun in the corner.
There's no snacks here.
No. All right, team. I will. We will see you tomorrow night from 9 p.m. Remember, Thursday 7 p.m. Bring a friend. Get your popcorn. I think it'll be a good one. I get the sense that the following week the leaders may not be quite as explosive as last week's one was. So this will be a cracker. I guarantee it. I imagine you'll have Rawiri in it, and perhaps James Shaw, because Marama and Debbie did the last one. But we'll see. I hope Marama and Debbie do it. They're my faves. High-fiving each other.
James Shaw would be interesting. I watched him on Q&A in the weekend, and like I urged us, like we've been very much waving the flag for Jack Tame because he puts fire to the people that we want burnt. But he does it pretty equally. Like James Shaw struggled against him as well, especially with one particular question that got a lot of play. And I don't know, maybe we'll have a look at that tomorrow night, Pat.
Yep. Cool.
But he was asked the question, if National end up being the government, what's better for the climate? Is it ACT New Zealand First, or is it the Green Party going with National?
Never
happened. It never happened, right? But that's an unwinnable question for him. And I saw a lot of people that had seen it going, "Holy shit! James Shaw said he'd go with National." And
didn't he say something like, "It would be rude not to pick the phone up"? Didn't he say something like that?
Yeah, he said he'd pick the phone up. But also, in the way that question is phrased, right? What's better for the climate? Well, that's really easy. What's better for the climate is a government that the Green Party is part of.
Yeah,
it had never happened. Their membership would not let it happen.
Yeah,
but that's not the question.
Well, the other point is the reason it wouldn't happen is that when the Māori Party did it, they were decimated the following election. You imagine that? Imagine, like, I haven't decided who I'm going to vote for yet, right? I genuinely haven't. I don't actually know. I'm A and B is Māori Party, and the Greens. C is Labour. A long way down the bottom of the line, C. And probably, if I'm now honest, D would be top, but they'd be even further down again, right? But if I voted for Greens and then they got in and they upheld a national government, I'd be ropeable. It'd be the same thing I'm saying about my difficulty with voting for top. Although I think all the points being made tonight are fair, because if Winston was going to be there, would I rather have Winston? Well, actually, am I vindictive? Winston with those two would be just a train wreck, and from the outside sitting in, it might be kind of fun to watch. But top sitting in with those other two right-wing parties would probably be better for the country. So,
I've seen the argument that Winston could be a handbrake on National ACT. God, that's grim. That's grim as picking out a silver lining of Winston getting back in, right?
Yeah.
And like I see a comment there that's just scrolling past of like, we need to get past this point of working for the climate only half the time. And I fucking agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, she's been busy tonight, guys. Thank you for being involved. Really do appreciate you all. We will see you tomorrow night from 9 p.m. This is about the 4th time I've tried to finish the show, too. So can you shut the fuck up for a bit? Is that all right?
I would like to do a dramatic reading of a Shakespeare play now. I will do all the characters.
You can do it to yourself. We'll catch you tomorrow night from 9. We'll see you Thursday night from 7. Be safe, everyone. See you tomorrow night. Make sure you head on to Apple Podcasts and have a listen to some of the audio podcast tomorrow. Maybe you can use that as a way to show people how amazing we are, and they should listen to the Raf interview on the Apple Podcast tomorrow to help us get back up those charts and not fall off the top spot. Hashtag BHN to find us on Apple Podcasts.
Get your young people to the polls.
So you're thinking about the country. I'm just thinking about us. So I'm selfish. You're a nice person. All right, team. We'll catch you tomorrow night from 9 p.m. Be safe. Hooroo.
Cheers, fam.